Woodshop shop.
Hi guys, I'm Sid and welcome to my man cave. A few months ago, I bought this dresser for my wife. It was pretty well received at the time, and so a further request was given for a pair of matching nightstands. Today I'll be making these nightstands and at the same time taking you on the journey, highlighting all the steps used to fashion this pile of scrap into that. Stick around and see the process. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get building. Right, so here I'm starting off with some Poplar Blackwood. Very twisted. I probably have about 10 or 15 lengths in my shed. I'm cutting them down into more manageable sizes. You'll see the wood is rather twisted, so it's a lot easier to work with smaller pieces in this particular case. Okay, so here I've taken it over to the table saw where I will cut these boards into manageable planks. I find that when wood is rather twisted like this, it's a lot easier to cut them into little strips and then to re-laminate them. Kind of like you would make a cutting board, that type of process. Right, so from here I'm going to sort them into planks. So here we're going to put it through the planer, get them all to the same thickness. Here I am sorting the wood. Rotating the grain where possible. And let the glue up commence. So what I've decided to do is to make two separate boards and then join those two boards together. That way I can put each board through the planer, the thicknesser, and it radically reduces sanding time, once you've merged the two boards together. I'll also build a framework around the outside of the board at a later stage. So here we go. Boards are nice and glued. They're still pretty twisted. Right, we're about to start the planing process. So yeah, I'll do a series of little passes through the thicknesser. Here we'll glue the two boards together. Never have enough glue. I'm going to try and clean off most of the excess glue. Somewhere along the way, I lost a little bit of footage of where I made the little framework that goes around, nice tight miters, goes around the board, isolate everything in. Right, so now moving on to the legs. I've got some old poplar also lying in my shed, so I've decided to use that. Off to the jointer, I can at least get one side nice and flat as well as one edge, and over to the table saw to clean up the edge. So now I've tilted my blade to 45 degrees and I will cut all my pieces at 45 degrees and later do the masking tape trick to create an L-shaped leg. Here I am at the chop saw, cutting them all to the identical height. There's Stanley. He's my shop dog, my loyal companion. And the masking tape trick I was telling you about works like an absolute charm. You take the two 45-degree miters, Utilize the tape to create a little false hinge. Plenty of glue on the inside. Quick little paint job. Close it up, and I'm going to use my brad nailer once I've ensured that both pieces are talking to each other. There we go. There's the first nail. And the second nail. So I'll just go down the length of that mitre and pump those 30mm brad nails directly through the mitre into the opposing piece of wood. They say second thoughts aren't always best. Well, in this particular case, I forgot to cut the slots. I'm going to make some sort of a shaker system here where there's a floating board in between. Here I'm using 9mm MDF board. So now, to give it a little effect, I've decided to route little lines to make it appear as if they're little individual panels over to the router table. Complete that process. Couldn't get deep enough to do the center one, so I had to create a false fence. And there we go. Gives a very nice effect, I think. And there we go. I missed another piece of footage. So basically it's built like a shaker door. You have the MDF panel in between those two slots. And you're basically making two sides, and you attaching a back. Here's the face frame. Also lost some footage. Those were dominoed together. So now you'll see how everything sort of comes together. It's very important at this stage to make sure that you do attach the face frame squarely. So I like to take my time and make sure that I'm even on both sides and I am square. But you can see everything's starting to come together quite nicely. I've used those MDF markers to ensure that both the top and the bottom are equally apart. And once again, they are glued, but I'm just brad nailing them in. I'm going with this way because this unit is going to be painted, so I am able to fill the holes at a later stage. Okay, so interesting little thing. We've decided to put some power sockets in the back. That way you're always able to plug in your chargers or your nightstand lamp or whatever it is. So here I am putting on the supports for the drawer slides. And then I need to create 4 feet. Because they're L shapes, this just gives you a little bit more stability and also gives you that false impression that there are 4 squared poles creating the uprights. I like to router the little edges as well, because invariably these units always get scraped along the floor and end up chipping your paintwork. Here we go. I'm cutting up the drawers. I'm ripping it down to size. These particular drawers are 150mm in depth. Over at the chop saw, I am cutting them down to the final size. Now I am adjusting the blade to to cut the slots for the drawer bottoms. I'm using a 6mm plywood bottom, so I need to cut a 6mm slot. Here's a nice angle. That's a 3mm slot at this stage, but it will be 6mm when I'm finished. There we go, cutting the drawer bottoms. Measure twice, cut once. And marking it up for the domino. I like to take my time and make sure that I put everything in the right place. So using the Festool domino, I always get perfectly square drawers. Right, out comes the Blackwood again for the drawer fronts. You can see how crooked that wood was. Yeah, I'm using my domino again to join the drawer fronts perfectly accurate every time. And I've decided to glue them 2x2. Bit overkill on the glue, but that's good. They are dry now, and I'm cutting them to size, ripping them up on the table saw. Then off to the miter saw, cut them to their final size. Perfect. Let the sanding process begin. Definitely not my favorite. I like to put a bit of water on my hardwoods to raise the grain. Once that dries, the grain comes up. Completely changes the sanding process thereafter. Put a small little round over, and there's pretty much the finished product. Now I have to router a slot for the drawer handle. Could really have put an easier drawer handle on. I'm using a matte automotive clear coat to seal everything in. Right, so time to start the primer process. You'll find that MDF is very, very thirsty when it comes to primer. Many coats are needed in order to seal those edges. Luckily, the bulk of the framework is made out of poplar, and poplar is an absolutely stunning wood to work with as far as paint. It loves paint and has very few problems. I don't have the best poplar in the world, but I have chosen to spray this unit, so if you're going to be spraying, it's perfect. Spray paint can hide a multitude of sins at the end of the day. Right, it's time to do the final coat of color now. You've missed the sanding process. So now I like to give it a nice light coat. Here I've also used an automotive paint. I've used a 2K paint, so it's a twin pack. So I've had my local paint supplier matte it down. So they incorporate a matting paste in. It really does give you a fantastic finish. Now I'm fitting the drawers. Well, the drawers are in. I'm fitting the drawer fronts. In this particular case, it's probably easier to do it like that. 3 little brad nails in behind. You take the drawer out. flip it over, and then screw it in. Time to do the final draw. Use 2 spacers. Make sure you're 100% in alignment. There we go. There's a quick look at how the unit looks from the front. Just temporarily put the top on. It's just resting there for now. Gone with the soft close draw runner. Right, everybody's favorite part. I've used a product called Woodshop 10 with a velvet sheen. Makes the whole board come to life. Coats of sealer on the drawer. So as you can see, I'm busy installing the plug point. Screwing it into position. Making sure it's square. Clearly it isn't. And putting the final cover on. And the plug. That's pretty much the whole project done. Pretty happy with the way it came out. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of this build. I'm sure you will agree that quite a lot of work goes into making these nightstands. Overall, I'm happy with the way these nightstands turned out, and they most certainly have created some aesthetic continuity in our bedroom. I've now been asked to build a dog ramp with the same look and feel as these nightstands. This will most likely be my next video. I plan to document all my builds here within my workshop. In addition, I also plan to create a series of tutorials teaching the basics of general woodworking as well as spray painting. I'll be the first to admit that I have a long way to go, but I can say with confidence that I'm passionate about woodworking and absolutely love being creative here in my workshop. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video and look forward to seeing you back again. All the best. Cheers.